Hi. This past Thursday, a few days ago, the first of Shvat 5785, January 30th, 2025, the hostage Agam Berger returned home and was released and liberated from the Hamas monsters. Before we go on, I just want to mention, we're going to speak about the amazing power in the Jewish soul. I'm just going to mention that I have a special class that earlier in my channel that you could find, which is called "You Don't Have to Be Jewish to Be Righteous and Holy." So in other words, every human being could connect to God through the 7 laws of Noah. You can look it up there. Anyway, back to our topic. So this girl, Agam Berger, she was kidnapped while she was 19 and she was liberated while she was 20. She was in captivity almost for 500 days, close to a year and a half. She comes back. The first 3 words she wrote in close to 500 days was B'derech Emuno Bacharti. I have chosen the path of faith. I don't know how well you could see this on the camera. This picture was viral. Probably millions of Jews saw it. B'derech Emuno Bacharti, she wrote. She's sitting with her parents, her father on one side, her mother on the other side, and she wrote this on on a board. I'm just going to read it in Hebrew, and I'm going to translate directly into English. In the path of faith I have chosen, and in the path of faith I have returned. Thank you to all of the Jewish people, to all of the nation of Israel, and to the heroic IDF soldiers. There's no one like you in the world. This girl was a slave to the Hamas terrorists. She had to cook for them for many months. However, in captivity, she chose and decided to start keeping Shabbos. And she refused to light a fire or cook for the terrorists on Shabbat, putting her life in danger. No question about it. She understood that. Every moment her life was in danger. And defying the terrorists, not cooking for them, because it's the Jewish Sabbath. I mean, these people kill Jews in the fall of a feather. She also refrained from eating meat to observe kosher as much as possible. Now, obviously this was amazing, this is inspiring. This is something, there's a rabbi in Israel writes, this is something a person sees once in a lifetime. Last week was also 80 years of commemoration of the liberation of Auschwitz. There's so many stories of Jews in the Holocaust, in the camps, trying to keep mitzvahs as much as possible, under the noses of the Nazis in Machshemam, in secrecy as much as possible, literally putting their life in danger. And then there's another comparison from her to Queen Esther. But before we go there, I want to mention an interesting thing. This happened on Thursday. There's a daily study of Tanya, the monumental book of Chassidus. We finish it every year. Every day we study a piece of the Tanya. For Thursday, the topic was that every neshama, every Jewish soul, has the ability and power to be able to choose a person's faith over a person's life. That was the topic of that day. Now, thank God today, it's not like in the past, our past history, where many times throughout our long, bitter history, many Jews had to, in different times of history, many times, to choose their faith or their life. Today, most of us are self-sacrifices to live as Jews. Not to die as Jews, but to live as Jews. But this girl chose to endanger her life and to connect to God to the best of her ability in the most horrible circumstances. So back to Queen Esther. There's another short article. Someone compares it to Queen Esther. Queen Esther was also abducted. She didn't want to be the queen. She was Jewish. She didn't want to be the queen of Achashverosh. But she was found and she was abducted. She was gorgeous. She was beautiful. And Achashverosh chose her. The king of Persia at that time chose her. Story of Purim. And he loved her. And the Gemara, our sages in the Talmud Megillah says that she kept kosher and Shabbos. She had 7 maidservants. Every day, another girl would help her with her needs. Like this, she had 7 of them, and for Shabbos she had a special maidservant. So like this, she knew when Shabbos was. She also ate seeds, not to have to eat non-kosher. But this past Shabbos, I said right here in the synagogue, in my humble opinion, Esther will for sure forgive me, because she's a righteous, humble woman, that this girl, Agam Berger, went way beyond Esther. Esther was the queen. Esther was loved by the king, although he was a dictator, but she was his wife. She was his queen, and he loved her. Agam Berger was amongst monsters who would kill a Jew in the blink of an eye. Would kill a Jewish baby in the blink of an eye, God forbid. It should never happen again. Number 2, Esther had a great Jewish education. She was educated in the home of Mordechai. Mordechai was the chief rabbi of his time, the Jewish leader. So she had an amazing Jewish education. The amazing thing about this girl last Thursday, Agam Berger, is that she did not go to a religious school. She did not keep Shabbos at home. She began to keep Shabbos in captivity. Not just that, her mother also started to keep Shabbos, and they did not know from each other's keeping Shabbos. And by her keeping Shabbos, she endangers her life by refraining of cooking and cooking for these terrorists. This is an amazing story, not in the books of the Spanish Inquisition or the Holocaust, but right here, right now. Right here, just happened a few days ago. She's definitely a great hero of Israel. She definitely inspired many, and we should all be inspired from her to connect with God, take her example, connect with God Almighty by going forward in our observance of the Torah and the mitzvahs, taking steps to observe Shabbat better, kosher food, kashrut better, mikvah, synagogue, tefillin, etc., etc. Agam, you showed me that there's a God. I always knew, but you demonstrated how God rests in your soul. How a Jewish neshama is a chelek elikam imal mamash, literally a part of God. Because otherwise it doesn't make any sense. She wasn't a religious girl. She didn't keep Shabbos beforehand. She was able to be angry at God. How do you put me in this dungeon? How do you allow this to happen to me if you really love me? right? She could ask questions like that, but she chose derech emunah bacharti shirot. I chose the road of faith. A pure and striking and most powerful demonstration of a Jewish soul connected with God Almighty. Thank you for listening.